Hey, what's going on?
Welcome to the Tuxes and Tomahawks podcast. I am Adam Dorito, and I am really excited to bring on Mr. Joseph here. He reached out to me over Instagram a couple days ago, and we were talking about his efforts in the black community and the Trump voting electorate and his fascinating story and his background. I don't want to spoil it for you, so thanks for so much for coming on the show today, Joe.
Oh man, my pleasure. My pleasure, Adam.
So tell me about where you came from and how you got wrapped up into everything that you're doing as a philanthropist.
Okay, so I got to start with me being initially arrested at the
Hmm.
age of 18 for a crime that I didn't commit, and I did 7 years in a state penitentiary. So that was very hard for me. I questioned God. Why am I going through this? I went through a lot of soul searching, digging, reading, and I was able to find peace. The only thing that gave me peace was spirituality. So my grandfather was literally like a scholar of the Bible, um, and he knew the Bible back to front. The whole Bible. And I studied that. I studied Christianity. I studied Islam, but I clung on to something called Sufism that dealt with Gnostics, and
Hmm.
that was more like the spiritual part, the tapping into so to say, the God inside of you or God-like consciousness.
Hmm.
So that's how I was able to get through, along with like playing basketball, stuff like that, to make the time go by. By the time I looked up, it was time to come home. But I met lifers, and a lot of them, like me, were wrongly convicted and had life sentences for crimes that they didn't commit. Two of them were actually my cellies, my cellmates. A cellmate is basically like a bunky college dorm. You got four people in there, and the
Right.
cell is a lot smaller, 10 by 4, and it's just you and that person. So,
This is incredible because I mean a little bit about my background. I was involved in a lot of stuff with the judicial system in the military. And it's actually one of the big things I do in DC. I do, wrongful convictions, and I also work on falsifying records for personnel in the military that get retaliated against for reporting misconduct for officers and sergeants and stuff at NCOs. So I don't have nearly as tragic of a story as you do, but I'm very well aware about how broken our system here is in the United States when it comes to judicial reform. And I know how hard it is to even get a look, to anyone take you seriously. And when you even have all the evidence backing it up and everything you have, and you can spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on lawyers, and even then, it's never guaranteed that the system is going to be corrected. And to hear that you had to endure 7 years of your life that was taken away from you unjustifiably is unbelievably tragic. And I'm so sorry that that happened to you.
yeah, it was something that elevated me, and it's just like the broken part of the system that I feel is like so hard to fix. Once we'll connect on another level, and once you meet some of the people on my team that has been diligently working with a friend of mine that was a childhood friend that has a life sentence for a
Hmm.
crime he didn't commit, and we're still working on that currently, which is it'll coincide with the Trump agenda and what how I feel about that, not just for my own selfish reasons to shed light to his situation, but I am selfishly pushed in his direction whenever it comes to any political campaigns, because I live by the quid pro quo theory. We give you something and you give us something.
Right.
So I can give you a block of votes, which is 100,000 votes through an absentee ballot through institutions that I have connected with inside of prison, which is Real Street Talk and the Great Panthers. And we found a way to get people like Larry Krasner in office,
Hmm.
which shed light on 10 lifers that I'm, connected with that came home from that, because they're finally looking at the misconducts from the district attorneys in Philadelphia. And this has been, a lot of, bad that was happening with the DAs through Len Abraham, Roger King. It was
Right.
so much where it was like Robert Krasner was like, well, what the hell? Like, how did this get past, the Supreme or the Superior Courts? Like, how did this slip through the cracks? So just to take you back real quick, so I won't be all
Yeah.
over the place. To get through the sentence part, I came home and I had two friends. I asked them, Do you want me to go home to make sure that you have money on your books, commissary pictures, or do you want me to fight for you to get home? And both of them was like, look, man, if you can help me, brother, like with tears in their eyes, look, help me. And I never seen guys like that was this strong willed come to that date after I did all of 10 years all together, uh, glassy eyed, because it's like you have a brotherhood that you form, and it looks like we're both doing life sentences, and years pass, and then your closest friend says, they just told me to pack up. I'm leaving them all. And it's like, oh shit, this is my best friend. Like I'm getting, goosebumps now, like thinking about it, when I left. And he just like, damn, like tears in his eyes, like, damn, I can't replace you. You was like my best friend, So my whole fight was, how do I find a way to get them back home? So I diligently moved in the direction of finding, the witnesses that were manipulated by the district attorney, made false statements. And I found that even the witnesses felt like it was something that they were wearing for years, that they just wanted to say, listen, I didn't see that crime. I didn't see that happen. I was a kid. And this district attorney told me to say that. And I'm like, wow. And I'm like, well, I had a little bit of funds. I was working doing trucks at the time, and which I'll lead into how I got started my own trucking company, government contracts, the crypto investments and stuff like that. But initially it was just me working a regular job as a trucker, got my CDL, me, stacking up some money and helping them. It was a lawyer named Emeka Igwe, and he looked at the case, got the recant statement, which is newly discovered evidence. Newly discovered evidence is enough to get you in a new trial. However, on a hearing, it was something called a non-protunct on a post-conviction. And he merged it with an existing issue, and they denied the whole issue, and they didn't explain why. But even if the old issue, the one that he started with, was weak, they could have just been denying that. But for him to add the newly discovered onto it, they denied the whole thing. And I was so upset. So because now they don't really give you a reason of why they denied the whole issue.
Right.
So it's like a whole fight again to try to get the recant statement, to get the witness, and a lot of stuff was going on. So we still working on that today. My other friend, both of them, I got both of them in trial though. I got both of them back with new sentences. So the job is like 75 to 85% complete, and me doing this on my own.
And that's really admirable, man, because it's kind of funny because podcasting kicked off, like, I'd probably say 8 to 10 years ago, with this podcast called Serial with Sarah Koenig, and she interviewed a case about this kid named Adnan Syed, and I think it was near Chicago, if I remember correctly, but he was wrongly convicted of murdering his girlfriend in high school. And this guy has spent like 25, 30 years in prison, and it took that long and that podcast to make his case known about all the things you're talking about. Tampering with witness statements, corrupt DAs, corrupt police. And if it wasn't for that podcast, that one little podcast, making notice that people can understand this guy's story, it didn't even motivate the American public to get involved. And when they finally did, the kid was finally exonerated and allowed to leave prison. But it took 30 years of his life away when he was 18 years old. And he had a life sentence for murder. Right. And you're saying all the same exact things that happened to him, but he just got lucky and got on this one little podcast with this Wall Street, journalist, and it got popular. But like you said, there are tens of thousands of men and women who are serving life sentences or massive sentences in this country for crimes they did not commit, because these DAs, they just want conviction rates. They just want to look good. They want to get promoted. And this kind of goes into the politics a little bit of it. We have so many corrupt politicians that are just so bought out, and they're so bought into the system, and they're so about the power in themselves that they forget that they serve the American people. And then they put them in prison because they want to shut them up, and they just want to have their numbers look good so they can get promoted into the congressional caucuses and they can get elected again. And this is something I've been pushing a lot since I came back from deployment, but I have only been interviewing candidates that are ethical and moral. And I want these people to come in under the next, hopefully, Trump administration and start replacing these people that have been so unethical and have treated the American public and have failed their oaths, immeasurably. And just hearing like just even your story and all the work you're doing by yourself, and that's what people don't understand. It's you against the system. It's not like you have
Yeah.
this giant support system and it's like this all these nonprofits. That goes for like very few individual wealthy people, but no one gives a shit about people in prison. I mean, you even look like Kamala Harris. She was putting men in jail for 25 years for possession of weed. Like, get the hell out of here. 25 years of your life for possessing weed. I mean, I live in Colorado. Everybody's high.
And I'm in California, so
Right,
yeah,
exactly. And this is the person that's running for president of the United States, who put tens of thousands of people in jail for massive sentences for everyday stuff. These aren't Mexican drug cartel leaders. This isn't Pablo Escobar. These are
correct.
just Americans
Talking
that,
about marijuana.
they're enjoying their life, doing some drugs that is mostly legal around the United States, and you're ruining their life, ruining their families, ruining their kids, costing the American taxpayer millions of dollars spending on DA fees. And it is so admirable that even today you are still fighting this system, even though you got out of it, because you know that it's wrong and we need moral, ethical people to go back and do the right thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. So in proceeding now, we're about 75 to 85% done, and we still have work that we're doing with that. But I want completely off grid, like literally.
Yeah,
And I say undercover for a lot of reasons, and also to safeguard, my family. I'm from Philadelphia. I
yeah,
can't have people thinking that, oh, this guy's a billionaire, But the crypto investment that I made, um, just so you know, like a friend told me that was in prison. This was in 2010.
oh
Um,
yeah, prime time to buy. I wish I bought it when when I was in college.
and he said, get Bitcoin now, and I promise you, you're gonna be rich. And I'm like, well, what the hell is Bitcoin? Like,
Right.
what is it? Like, what do I need to do? He said, just get as many as you can. He said, if you got $2,500 to waste, they was at $1 to $4.
Yeah.
So I'm not even going to expound on that.
Yeah.
However, what I'm
Yeah.
going to say is I was smart enough at the time to have something called a nano ledger.
Mhm.
I took everything off the blockchain. I had a little bit of fun because
Yeah.
the numbers went up to like 79. You know what I mean? I had a little bit of fun, and I snatched everything off the blockchain, put it on my nano ledger, locked it away. I'd never cared about the numbers from there because if I made $1 to $4 investment, I'm okay with losing $2,000. But if it does what I believe it's going to do to hit 100,000, I know that game over. You can't even buy no more because it's
Right.
only a certain amount that gets produced.
Hmm.
So me going off the grid and having that separate, I walked away from a multi-million-dollar enterprise, which was a trucking and transportation company.
Hmm.
Because when Joe Biden got in office, it was a bridge that collapsed on 95. It was a
Yep.
95 bridge collapse.
Hmm.
My office was 2,500 State Road. I needed that bridge. Not only did I lose 93,000
Hmm.
that month, the following months was a decline, took a major hit, had a truck flipped over. I had so much going on. My company was just like crumbling.
Hmm.
And I reached out with an EIDL disaster loan that was 22 million or whatever was already supposed to have been allocated for that.
Right.
They denied me. And I went to Martin Luther King Center and I sat down there when Biden and all of the camp came, and
Right.
I was kind of like ruffling feathers down there.
Hmm.
He gave this speech about all men are created equal, and I was like, listen, let me explain. They was like trying
Yeah.
to shut me up.
Yeah.
Let me
They're
explain
so full of
why this
shit.
is not equal, because all them trucking companies up there got that money for that bridge collapse. Why was I denied? My whole thing was I was pissed off about that.
Sure.
My company was declining. And then I realized that even though I successfully made 1.9 and I felt like, okay, my only thing was coming from the penitentiary. Then prior to that, I was in the streets. I had street activity. I wasn't just a saint and went to jail, but I
Right.
didn't do that.
Right.
So all I wanted to do was be able to make $1 million without being a drug kingpin
Right.
and without entertainment. Like, is it another way? And I learned 1% information, financial literacy, where I have so much information about SaaS, which is software as a service of finance. I mean, I know about buying debt, acquisitions, buying companies. I know so much where
Mm-hmm.
I started to turn into a financial consultant.
Yeah.
And my last deal, when I walked away from the trucks, I got a Maybach and I'm doing great. And three guys that I met, I did some things for them financially, and I got burnt for $1.2 million.
Jeez.
And I felt like my world just ended, like crushed.
Mm-hmm.
And let's keep the nano ledger and Bitcoin separate, because that don't exist to me. It's like I can't
Right.
even go. So I got blocked out of three Binance, Coinbase, and Robinhood, where I couldn't even trade no more.
Yeah.
So I just got my money to this, or my crypto to the side, and I said, you know what, I'm good. However, banks, small banks would, if you move like say 175K, and you make a quick transaction and you move it from, one place to the next, they'll call it a suspicious transaction and they'll
And they
shut your
light you.
account.
Oh, yeah, they light you up. Oh, absolutely.
So
Yep.
I went through that with Navy Federal, TrueMark, to where I'm like, oh, so now you playing with my money on the stock market and you don't have it to give me right now. So you're going to claim as a suspicious transaction because you don't have it. And then you guys hold my money for 2 weeks before you give me my money.
Yeah.
And then say you're going to close my account because I'm not letting you play with my money. So then I learned stuff about the fractional reserve theory, the credit creation theory. And I started piercing the corporate veil when I said, damn, money don't really exist.
No, it's all fiat currency, especially in this country.
So it started blowing my mind. I'm in the rabbit hole now, and I'm like, all this to get this what's called money. And I'm like, I started doing research how United States filed for bankruptcy. They issued the Federal Reserve notes, which is promissory notes, and that's no different from me saying I promised Adam that I'm going to pay him this money on toilet paper.
Oh, hell
That's
yeah.
how much
Absolutely.
that dollar bill is.
Yeah.
So I know that this financial bubble is about to burst. And it's just like, I can't even tell you right now the best way, like, Adam, this is the way to go. Like, I'm just saying, and it's just some financial consultant. I'm saying crypto, I'm giving you a nugget now. Cardano was like maybe $35. I know it's going to go to about $3,000, right? That's one of the low ones. I be getting information like that. I know some wells. And that's how I was told about Bitcoin. But I don't say invest all the way in that, right? Make sure you have some here. Also gold.
Yep.
Gold, silver.
Gold just hit its highest price ever recorded, like last week.
Trust me, I know people that's doing international gold trading, arbitrage deals, like from something called smart contracts or flash loans. And they allow you to do it. It got to be fast though.
Yeah.
And you can move it, internationally and make 3 million on in between on a gold deal. So I just say cover all bases, and they only saying that they are covering 275,000. So that means that if you have
10 million, whatever,
yeah, then you burnt. Anything over 275 is what they're covering. So from a financial consultant standpoint, move it around 250, 250, 250, 250, 250, right?
Yeah.
And then have other places where you have your money. And that's just a nugget for you right there in terms on the financial side.
So this is a fascinating discussion because you bring up something that I'm an intelligence analyst in the military too, right? So I was overseas, and especially when the Ukraine war kicked off. And one of the biggest things that I noticed is everyone think, oh my God, Russia is invading Ukraine because they want to take over Ukraine because they believe it's Russia. Not necessarily. They have a lot of gold and oil reserves in Ukraine. And one big thing that Russia wants to do is to control the food supply. Ukraine supplies 80% of the food to the Middle East, right? Well, what does the Middle East have? Oil. That's the only thing they're worth. We've been based on this petrodollar concept for 30, 40, 50 years now, right? So really the reason Russia is going into Ukraine is to control the food supply of the Middle East, because who currently has all the control in the Middle East? The United States and Western allies. So now if the Russians come in and they're controlling all the food in the Middle East, you can give them all the tanks and helicopters they want in Kuwait and the UAE, but it doesn't put food in people's mouths. So really the bigger picture of this is that the Russians are trying to flip Western influence in the Middle East by using food as a weapon. And then this is where your conversation comes in. What did the Russians do immediately with Brazil, India, China, and Singapore right after that? And they created the BRICS system. They're trying to create an entire new financial system that's based on hard assets only, right? Gold, timber, steel mills, things like that, because they know that the U.S. currency, if they lose their influence of the petrodollar, which is basically what the only thing our
Only thing
money,
that's backing it.
the only thing that's backing it is oil trading. And if the Saudis or anyone else in the Middle East switches to any of that currency, the yuan in China or the ruble in Russia or whatever Iran uses, they're going to collapse the entire U.S. financial system overnight because our entire money system is based upon that oil trading. And if the Russians convince everybody to switch to a different financial trading system that's based on physical hard assets, like you said, gold, timber, things that people need, there's nothing backing the American currency promissory notes whatsoever.
Dang.
That's crazy, right? And you bring it up, like, this is why people are investing in Bitcoin and crypto, right? Because at the end of the day, it's on a ledger that the governments and all these people can't touch. There's nothing that they can do, right? But in the meantime, they still need a physical currency that is based on something, not the entire industrial, war complex that the United States has been propagating for decades.
Wow, that's heavy. I gotta digest that one real quick, man. We're gonna build on that off
Well, it's just, yeah. What the thing is people are not paying attention. Everyone think, oh, Israel and Palestine, oh, Ukraine and Russia. I'm like, there's way bigger things at play that people don't understand. Russia understands that Joe Biden is extremely weak, and they can take this influence now while they can, because if Donald Trump gets elected, he's going to stop that. And they know that, so they're trying to take advantage of it right now. It's kind of funny because everyone thought that the Russian system was going to collapse and they couldn't build war machines and everything else, and we were decimating them. That's not true. The Russians were making money off this war because now they've partnered with India and China as their main trading partners, the two largest countries in the world. And they're doing all their own Amazon trading. They're trading all their own oil. They don't need the United States. They don't need the UK. They don't need South Africa. They don't need any of these countries anymore. And they're realizing it with the BRICS system. And this entire system, they're trying to collapse and break Western influence because the United States has put on this guise that it's in control of everything. And yes, we still have the largest economy in the world and everything else, but in reality, it's technically, like you said, it's based on nothing. It's based on nothing other than maybe 13 nuclear supercarriers saying, if you fuck with us, we'll blow up your country. I mean, other than that, though, it doesn't really exist.
Exactly. And this matrix we've been living in for so long, but people are waking up and they realizing it because prime example, my friend's father that was working in a very big company and he retired, and it's supposed to be, the American dream. You work, retirement, and all that whole drag. Go to school, go to college. I got a whole, treatment on that. And I'm seeing it firsthand because now he's retired and trying to get a job because it's not enough.
It's not enough.
And then the real kicker is when it's not available at all.
Correct. What are people going to do? What are people going to do? Like my grandmother's 100 years old. She lives in New Jersey still, right? Because I'm from the East Coast. I actually grew up in New York and New Jersey, right? And these boomers and all these old people were promised that Social Security is going to take care of them. They're going to pay into the system forever, and they're going to be okay. And now they're realizing, and people think that, like, it's really funny. I wouldn't give shit to the DOD that, like, the Department of Defense, that, their budget's $833 billion this year and we're wasting money. I'm like, that's not even our biggest expense. It's only like 18% of the budget. What we're wasting money on in this country is the social welfare programs like Medicare, Medicaid, all these other things. That's actually the majority of what our budget is. But even then, you have all these fake healthcare systems like, you go in for surgery, it's like $250,000 for something that you can go to Mexico for $4,000. You know what I mean? Like, it's just made up because these people are just using it as a money laundering scheme, and getting around it with all this fake fiat currency. And at the end of the day, there's not a single ethical politician that's going to stand up and try to stop this because they're also lining their pockets. I mean, I lobby in DC once a year for military reform bills, like trying to do the right thing, right? And it's crazy. You see some like social justice groups or environmentalists, and then like there's me walking around trying to pass this like, hey, don't rape people in the military. It's bad. We should pass a law for that, right? Because it's not illegal. It's crazy. And then, but 80% of the people I see walking around are pharmaceutical company lobbyists. Like they're, you know what I mean? These are the people that are running the government. It's the medical system based upon fake charges and fees and this. astronomical healthcare system that's burdening the taxpayer with billions, if not trillions of dollars a year.
Wow. Yeah. So let me dive into this because I got a few things I need to take care of, and I want to make sure I give you the meat and potatoes. But
Yeah, sure.
offline, we definitely got to connect. I got so much that I want to
Oh,
share
for
with you.
sure.
So to add into what we was talking about and how it all connects on a political landscape, um, I want to mention that my guys, both of them are 75 to 85% done in terms of being in the courts, waiting on a decision to be released.
Mm-hmm.
I also learned from the teachings of a few great men. One was Amin Jabbar, which was Noonie Mims. He ran Greater for prison and he educated men under him and following protocol. I learned directly from some men. Andre Harvey, who also has an unlawful sentence, life sentence, and he's on his way out. Shakur and Sharif, that's who connect me to real street talk in that institution with 100,000 men that I have access to the absentee ballot. So my proposal was based on that, of saying, okay, we know we need Trump to win this election. Whatever Kamala was going to do, she had the chance to do it because she's been sitting in there the whole time.
Absolutely.
I don't really want to get stuck on that. I just feel that she's not able to do what she needs to do for the United States of America, and that's just how I feel. Donald
She's a
Trump,
liar.
yeah, and Donald.
She was in that briefing the other day, and she talks normal, and then she's hanging out with the city people, and she's like puts herself on some city accent, like she's some kind of gangster. It's like, shut up.
Yeah,
Like, what are you doing?
So honestly, it starts to make me feel a little embarrassed. But I try to break the barriers of this whole race thing, which I believe has been holding us back for so many years.
I agree, 100%.
Where even this whole, you got the founding fathers, and then you got a person that's my white friend that's a slave in the Marriott. So you can't just say, oh, just because you're a Mason or you're white, then you're rich. That's not the case.
Exactly.
I put myself underground. Literally, I am in undercover millionaire situation where I'm in the recovery home with people that are homeless right now.
That's amazing.
I started from the ground because I was tired of dealing with people that's supposed to be rich. And my thing is, I can show you how to build in 90 days from the ground up, and I can show you improve it from myself by literally coming to another state and starting off being homeless. Even though I gotta hire my Maybach down a few blocks away and all of that, get on a bus, and I still do this whole homeless project. I still train kids in Costa Mesa right now for free.
I love
basketball,
that.
but I educate them all the time. They be like, won't you just, why you playing this out? Like, why you gotta be like, I'm telling them like what I'm going through, but I'm like, nah, because you cannot attain the highest of heights until you hit the deepest of depths.
Yeah.
And I wanted to start from the ground because my sister was homeless in Philadelphia when I made $1 million, and she was homeless on just being free. She just wanted to break from the government like a nomad. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? I'm crying. I'm like, I made $1 million and I got a sister that's homeless. Like, what the heck is going on? Anytime I give her something, she give it to everybody else.
Yeah.
So as I ran a trucking company and I flipped my trucks and I went through this, and I went from technically having that on books to losing that 95 bridge collapse loan and all that, everything plummeted. And then I got burned for 1.2 million for a consultant. Then I said, wow, I was at square one. I was paying $30,000 a month in fuel. I was paying my drivers $1,800 to $2,500 a week. When I did my P&L, my balance sheet, I didn't make any money. And then, the greedy hand of the founding fathers with the 28% tax, I don't make any money.
Exactly.
So I said, and my greatest gift is writing and rapping, music, books, and movies.
Yeah.
And I came back to my passion. So I already have a studio in my house. I made like 5 albums. And I'm like, how do I get through to the next generation through my music and something that I was gifted with?
That's huge.
I watched how it changed from Elevation, from Public Enemy, from KRS-One, and all of these artists, and how it was elevation. And then I watched gangster rap, and then I watched drill music. My generation, and then I'm like, well, look at the kids. Wow, look what the kids are doing now. Where my generation wasn't really in the street like I was, so I didn't rap about it because I'm not going to make an exhibit A for the district attorney. Like, I'm not going to rap about if I'm doing a crime. So most of the rappers in my era they really wasn't in the street. So
Mhm.
the kids that came under me thought they were. So now they started recording it, going live, doing stuff, and then talk about it. Yeah, we just smoked on Lil Homie and all of that, and they really just did it. So
Right.
the DAs loving Instagram and all these other apps because they just posting the crimes right on television or right on the internet.
Yeah.
So now they bringing that to court. So I'm saying, do I just accept it? Do I just fall back and say this is what it is? So my talent again is like I wake up. I have over thousands of songs. When I say Tupac's back,
Oh yeah.
I say that's who I
Tupac's
always
not dead. Tupac's not dead. Who you kidding?
absolutely. So when
Yeah.
I say this is what I do on the lines of Tupac, Nipsey, and those that elevate, that's who I am through my words. I do books, write books as well and movies. So it pushed me here. Now Kanye West says, and he makes some crazy statements, but that's still my guy. I just believe that it's misinterpreted. He didn't mean it the way to make it like F all the Jews. Like he didn't, I just think that was blown out of proportion. But I
Yeah.
understand he's confused in a state where he doesn't have any help to express how he feels, like the
Yeah.
unjust of the music industry and how they're taking and demanding so much of your talent and just taking you're the talent and they just taking all the proceeds the way they do.
Exactly.
So my thing was, how do I find a way to get the music out to educate through music, but with the founders, like the founding fathers? It's the
Mhm.
founding OGs
There
that
you go.
polluted me, right?
Mhm.
That
Yep.
they have a message that they want to change because they the ones that started it,
Right.
but they need to be freed up from these cases that I'm highlighting. So
Mhm.
now here we're coming with the proposal you've seen, because it's a $5 million budget of trying to Trump's team trying to get basically the black vote. So my thing
Yes.
is, with the black vote, I can show you how to get the black vote. And it's pretty
Yes.
simple. It's two things, which is no color, race, creed, or none of that. It's universal, because your son will be bobbing his head, listen to Little Baby or whoever, and you can't control it because it's something about the hip hop field is universal. So the two main, the bridge the gap, it's the convicted felons,
Mhm.
the inmates through the absentee ballot. I told you I'm over 100K strong over there. And then hip hop, you win by a landslide. However, I gotta be the leader of the new school. I'm just saying that I have the material, I have the inauguration song, I got everything, I'm prepared.
Mhm.
So when I say let's put this energy here and talk about the real official men that came from that, that's telling you that's not the way to go. Because my issue is, okay, I put you there, but you need to help me highlight this innocent killing from the kids in the street and the wrongful convictions from the men in jail.
Yeah.
That's all I care about. My
Absolutely.
babies.
Yeah.
My babies that are dying because of this music, and it's called drill, right? And I'm gonna give you based on vibration, is played and recorded at 440 gigahertz. It's a frequency.
Mhm.
440 gigahertz causes sorrow, anger, kill, drill. It's the vibe, right?
Mhm.
Then you have 432 gigahertz and 444. Those are the frequencies of love. So my plan was, okay, let me put out my music through the institutions, which is the jail kiosk machine they had where they can buy the music. I was doing this pro bono by myself. I put it through the institutions and I have Grammy nominated engineers. My cousin Anthony Bell, Chad West Hamilton, Culture, a guy named Tone Love from Tough
Mhm.
Crew, different people that I'm forming with, right? To make the music on that vibration, which is healing music. Being as though I know business, I'm a regular label, I can use a DBE certification. If you don't know what that is, that's disadvantaged business enterprise. That's how most of the foreigners come over here and they get work and they use the Martin Luther King discrimination, and they coming from another country. It's like, what?
Yeah.
That's really for the disadvantaged people that's here.
Right.
And for my consultant, if it was you, the only people that don't qualify to be disadvantaged in a business enterprise is a white male. And the loophole is to make it a woman-owned business. As most of the people I consult that are white males,
Right.
I make them go through the women to be 51% owners of their company. So it's
Mhm.
still a loophole in it for everybody, right?
Right.
But the only ones that are benefiting the most is who? The foreigners that's coming from different countries.
Yeah.
For some reason, they give them the blueprint. Like, this is what you do. But we got to dig and scratch and claw. And, so the point I'm making is I already did it. My company is DB certified. I put the music on the kiosk machine. The kiosk machine, work out the distro, which is the distribution as a label that's disadvantaged. So it's not like a big label, right? So now once I work out the distro, put it in the jails, 100,000 copies is technically wood in the industry. But 100,000 copies at $10 makes me $1 million without having to worry about selling to the world, not based on my age and none of that. Because see, they make hip hop as if you're 35, you're too old. But my man Dave Mathis is the 78, still going on tour doing country rock and all that. So stop trying to make it where my demographic or hip hop is ostracized, like separated. Like, oh no, hip hop that's different. They only could be, 33, and that's it for them. Nah, we're not going to do that. It's art form, and in a form of art. I'm a writer. Art collections. It's my work of art. It's I write to basically I draw pictures until I die. I'm an old painter. I'm Da Vinci. I'm Picasso. I'm still painting my picture, right? Okay, so now I don't have to worry about that even in the industry, because the only people that shut you down from that is a label saying, well, how old is this guy? Nah, we don't want him. So why are they saying that? Because they know if I'm under 35, then I'm talking to nonsense. I'm gonna just shoot him and boo, boo, boo. They know I'm talking to nonsense, but once you get a certain age, you're talking wisdom. So the labels don't want you. I'm not asking for a label. I have my own situation. 100,000 copies is wood in the industry. Then out of 100,000 copies, I donate 25% of that, which is $250,000, to the free appeal drive for the wrongly convicted. I'm doing that on my own. So now once they know I'm doing that inside the institutions, they all buying it up now, because they're like, somebody's finally supporting us and shedding light to our situation. So that's why I'm proposing to Trump to say, listen, I just want to shed light on two things, and I can unlock these votes for you, but just help me get through to shed light on the wrongly convicted. And he already did that with Kanye, talking about Larry Hoover and things, and he did it for Kim Kardashian.
Yep.
So he has the power to do it, and he understands that. And when I say Trump, I study this boy. I studied this guy. I can tell you everything about the empires of New York. Him, Leona Hensley, Ivan Brodsky, that whole unit. How he did. The only thing I don't like is some of the business things in terms of the Chapter 11 and not paying nobody when you follow. Right. I would at least pay the workman. Some things that I might not agree with. However, he understands business. And a businessman, when he was in office, my company was.
Well, I mean, this is why they're trying to stop him so much, right? I mean, I think there's a lot of other politicians that have been talking about the system like you have. Like, they take advantage of people. They count on people being uneducated and not knowing how to utilize it to the best of their abilities. And this is why they're putting so much effort into making sure Trump does not get elected. Because if he does, he's going to come in and like try to break all these walls down. I mean, he even said he wants to hire Elon Musk to basically fire half the federal bureaucrats. I'm all for it. You know what I mean? Because it's massively inefficient. It's not benefiting the American people. And what you're talking about here is not only revolutionary, it's honorable. You understand the demographic that you're trying to focus on. You understand that there's so many wrongly convicted people, and our prison system needs to be reformed. And you're talking about reaching them out through music, which is something they can associate with. It's just like people in the South associate with country music. People who living in the streets, living in the cities, they more align with hip hop and stuff, right? Because that's what people do every day. Nobody really pays attention to politics. Nobody has the time to research all this crap going the government. You know what I do when I get pissed off? I put on my music and I go work on my truck, or I'm going out and doing stuff. Music is what speaks to me. And you're right. Music basically is a love language for us, right? And it puts us, you can be having the shittiest day in the world, but it puts you in the best mood possible just by putting on some headphones and listening to it. And basically what you're talking about here from a military perspective, this is psychological operations at its best. You know what I mean? This is exactly what we do overseas, influencing tribal nations in Syria, right? We use, leaflets, pamphlets, music generation, social media, things like that. Right. And that is such an effective way to get people to talk, to get people to interact, and not even have to be worried about the politics. And it also motivates people to want to work together for a centralistic cause. And for years, it's unlawful convictions and lifting those people up. And I think it's such an effective messaging program. And I think what you're doing is, this is one of the coolest podcasts I've done, because we're not talking about all the other bullshit everyone wants to talk about and everything else. You're talking about something that's really deep into the soul of what America is about. And I think that is so awesome.
Oh man, I appreciate it. And I need help. The guy that I met that introduced me to you, very special guy, man. And when he met me and we built, because again, with the music is connected, like I was telling him about SaaS, which I was telling you, software as a service.
Yeah.
And then it leads to, once I put myself in position to get the attention of the kids, I got to, maybe now I'm gonna bring the Rolls Royce. I got to bring all that out. So you're gonna see me going character. I'm just letting you know now.
You have to.
Yeah,
It's
it's a bunch of
psychological
all
operations, man. You got to play the game. You got to do the
right.
thing.
So when I show them success, or what they
They
view
think
as
is success, right?
right now, I got the attention on how I did it. I'm saying I'm homeless right now. I showed you I came from ground zero with nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I built this up in 90 days because I understand the structure on how to make a company from credit and buying debt, right? To reassigning it, 850 credit, 5 different, banks, 50,000 in the circle, mirror the funds, 250, and make $1 million literally in 90 days. I got the whole blueprint on how to do it. Simple. Just using the banks and credibility from credit, right? So, in zombie debt is a whole, that's a whole nother treatment. I can explain that to you.
Mm-hmm.
But when I show the kids that I did that without rap, like, nah, I didn't do that, by rapping and get a check. I did this before I actually did the music. Now there's financial literacy courses, because that's all I really care about is, again, the elders need to fix what they did. I'm almost holding their feet to the fire saying, listen, y'all corrupted me too. And y'all are nothing like that, because you were the same men that built me up and gave me the ammunition to come be a successful millionaire. I took
Right.
your information. So why is these men still stuck behind this gate and they are innocent? So once we shed light on that, and they come from the top, because you got to fix it from the top. So when they come and fix it, and then you got somebody like me, because they all grayed out now, and a lot of them older. So now I can still blend in with that style and all of that with the younger group, and then show them what appears to be success from all the worldly things, like the $38 million mansions that I'm in and around. I can show them all these things, and they're like, "Well, wow, this is," and then I can show them financial literacy. That's my main thing, to be able to teach the kids financial literacy. So now I can state to you, listen, you don't necessarily have to be a rapper, and you don't necessarily have to be Stephen Curry or LeBron James. You still can be successful, a successful business owner, and be a millionaire, because I've done it. Just so you know, because when I asked my son, because I'm training them, I know plenty of people that went to the NBA, and one of the
Right.
convicted, the wrongfully convicted, which is Julius Edwards, DX 7319 in Somerset Prison, he taught me a lot. And in basketball, he was supposed to go to the NBA, right? And his whole thing is he just wants to educate the kids and showing them through basketball and be able to speak to them, because once you deal with them based on their understanding, like I address you based on what you understand, that's how you have to deal with people, based on their understanding. So since you understand these and these moves and all that, well, all right, let me show you that, and then I get to give you some wisdom in between that, you see. So it's not just the old guy with the suit on, hey young fellas, they're not listening to that approach. That approach is not working. So you have to deal with them with according to what they know. So mine is through music and basketball, but also showing them financial literacy, and say, like I told my son, do you really want to go to the NBA? Or do you, and I explained to him, I said, you got to play 82 games. Do you want to be running up and down the court doing that? Because you're kind of lazy. When I asked you to clean your room and all of that, right? You little stuff you don't really want to do. You don't want to hustle. You don't want to run up and down. So you got to play 82 games, buddy.
Everyone wants to be Michael Jordan. What are you talking about, Joe?
Right. So now I say, or is it just you just want to buy your mom a big house, right? And have $1 million? And he said, yeah, Dad, I just want to buy my mom a big house and have $1 million. I said, well, what if I showed you ways to do that without playing basketball? Would you still want to go to the NBA? That's what he told me, Adam.
What did he tell you?
He said no.
No.
So that dream is only based on the fact of success. I see success in that. When I see LeBron James, I see that big house and I see this car and I see my mom being out this ghetto. So everybody's lined up.
They think that they need to play basketball. They need to sell the drugs. They need to do this stuff because that's what they see as gaining success. And that's not the only pathway. And it's so admirable that you're trying to show them that pathway, show them those avenues. Because like I said, it's what I give a lot of freaking Americans out here doing with politics. It's like the problem with you is that you choose to be uneducated. You're supposed to be a lifelong learner. You can go out and learn this stuff every day, but people like you who understand the system and are trying to learn it, there's just so many ignorant Americans who just look at their Instagram feed or look on the internet and they think that that's what they have to do to follow the system. And there's so many other ways to get to where you are, where you've been successful, where you could successfully embed yourself into a homeless community and try to bring this knowledge to those people. And it's not something that's common, nor is anyone else that I know even doing that.
And I'm telling you, Adam, I met some jewels. I got a guy that I'm writing a story and a book on right now in a movie. And man, this is heavy. So what he told me, what happened to him, you know, it was just completely wrong. And you know, he's from over here. And as he's telling me the story, he was like, everybody took this as it was fact and saying that this guy had this rape and you know something crazy on his record that this lady posted on something that she didn't have any information and made this story up. And I said, all you had to do was, if you've never been convicted or charged, just go on the site, like the mega law sites and all that. He said, I was in a gang all my life. I don't know how to use the internet, none of that, bro. I went in here, put his information in. This man is nowhere listed on here. He got a lawsuit, all kinds of stuff going on right now. And guess what I wrote? A story, a book right now, and I'm on a 5th chapter, and I'm gonna turn it into a movie. And the name of it is It's Only Emmett Till It's You. Man, this joint is heavy. You hear me?
Yeah,
And
that's pretty heavy.
his story is so interesting. It's like, even without the money, just family members died behind this because it was like, yo, you need to fix this, and it's different language and culture, and it's gang culture. So it's like, yo, you got this on your record, bro. You can't, you know, people's dying over this. He lost things that he can't get back. And my heart went out to him, and you know, he with me every day, actually in the house with me now, you know. And I've met so many different people like this that supposed to be at the bottom of the barrel. They have no clue really of who I am. So I'm just blending in and just getting information. And I ain't gonna lie, my wife hated it. She's like, we
Try to play undercover boss out there, try to save America by yourself.
Yeah, she like, come on home, please. Like, I'm tired of this. Yeah, you doing this homeless project. Like, I ain't with none of this. But again, there's certain things that I do is not based on me. It's for the greater cause. And to benefit my son, like the story of, you know, Jesus. If you're religious, you read the Bible, and he sacrifices and said, I put myself on this so that what? You can live. Right?
So you can live, yes.
So I'm saying I'm willing to die so that my sons could live. Because I already killed myself. My desires are done. I'm eating like all kinds of noodles and stuff. Like, I'm not eating like I was, you know, I'm blending in, and I'm like taking myself back to square one and building in that process, and knowing I'm only one air away from somebody hearing my story and then seeing my work and saying, come on, an angel investor, a venture capitalist. I'm in a place to be. I'm in Hollywood. Well, Hollywood's right there. All I got to do is take my story anywhere. But again, I have my own resources. You know what I mean? So
yeah, absolutely.
It's just a process of what I'm going through to pretty much show that it could be done. And this was season 3, Undercover Billionaire. Glenn Stearns and Grant Cardone stole season 3 from me. When I told him it was going to be from Philadelphia, I studied this show. I did, we're going to do a season 3. I got all the texts and I got all the stuff. And he ended up doing it with Grant Cardone season 3. And it didn't make no sense because I said, well, Glenn, I was showing you somebody that came from the struggle, that didn't have anything, that built $1 million trucking company. It don't even make sense that you would do that with Grant Cardone because he's already rich technically. Right. And then they ran it without me or whatever. So, you know, I kind of left it alone, didn't try to file any paperwork and none of that, even though I do have the emails and some other things that happen, but I constantly create. So when I say, Adam, like the things that I created since I've been here, since 2010, I was working on a television network called PTVN, Joseph Collins, Punch Television Network. We was on that doing something called Shadows of a Legend. I was involved with that. They redid that show when somebody went to go see Russell Simmons, and then they came out with a show called Growing Up Hip Hop. Took our whole concept. So I'm saying I'm so used to having great ideas, you know, stole from me. But if somebody steals this one, right? Thank you, because all I want to do is shed light on these two situations. It's not about fame for me. Because if I could do this behind a mask, because that's what I really wanted to do. I wanted to put a whole mask on and be undercover through the music so nobody would see me, because I just never cared too much about being famous. You know what I mean? Like behind the scenes was cool for me. So that's pretty much everything laid out, man. It definitely was a pleasure. I got, you know, a few things I need to take care of.
No, for sure.
But I want to give you a call, you know, so that we can discuss some things further and basically finding a remedy too, because any resources that you may have that I'm working with, and that's pulling together to make this common factor and, you know, Trump actually win by a landslide, because we can't afford to have Kamala on that seat.
I 100% agree. And Joe, I am so happy that you got introduced to me. This is a fascinating thing, and like we can do some cross country integration. You know, I could introduce you to some of the guys I know. You know, we could start getting your story out there because it's so unbelievably important. And especially for me, talking to you about this entire story has been really an awe-inspiring adventure for me. And I just want to thank you so much for coming on this show. I know I'm gonna go out of the country to Peru. I'm doing a humanitarian mission down there for a couple weeks, and I'll be back around mid-October. But I would absolutely love to continue working with you in the future and getting on board with everything that you're doing and trying to help, you know, these wrongfully convicted people, helping our street communities be uplifted and help integrating them in our society better the way you have been doing. Because like I said, in church the other day when I was there, because I'm religious, is our life is about service. And it looks like we lost Joe there for unfortunately, but I'll finish my tirade right there. But your life is about service, and you can sit there and make all the money you want. You can sit there and have the highest political offices that you want, but at the end of the day, you know, our life is about serving others, serving our community, and serving a higher power. And if we're not doing that, then we're not helping our fellow man. We're not helping our country. We're not going to save this country from all the incestuous uh, communist ideology that's infiltrating our kids and everything else. And I really can't wait to work with Joe in the future and all of the great things that he's doing. For everyone out there, sorry it got cut off. I guess we lost some connection out there while he's hiding as undercover billionaire in the homeless camps. But thanks for watching Tuxes and Tomahawks. And like I said, this is going to be my last podcast for a couple of weeks. I'm heading out on a humanitarian mission out in Peru. I'm going to go see my mom and my grandma for her 100th birthday in New Jersey for a couple days. And then I'll be back right before the general election kicks off on November 5th. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Enjoy the 3 episodes I was able to post today. And stay safe out there.